Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something super actionable, a real practical roadmap to absolutely demystify spoken English. And get this, we're doing it in just 21 days. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed at the mere thought of speaking fluently, you are in the exact right place. We are going to break down a proven, highly practical method, so let's just jump right in. To really understand why those old-school, traditional methods usually fall flat, let's look at a quick story about two friends. Now, both of these guys struggled heavily with spoken English in class. They stuttered when reading out loud, they completely froze up trying to turn their thoughts into actual words, and yeah, they got teased a lot by their classmates for it. Fast forward a few years. They both land this huge interview, but it's conducted entirely in English, and it's happening in just 21 days. So, how do they prepare? Student 1 goes the traditional route. He dives headfirst into heavy grammar books, memorizing adverbs, nouns, pronouns, the whole shebang. He even starts aggressively reading the dictionary to cram in new words. Student 2, on the other hand, he literally tosses the dictionary aside and goes with a highly practical 7-step speaking method. And the result? When interview day finally rolled around, Student 1 completely failed, but Student 2 passed with absolute flying colors.
Now, I want you to ask yourself a quick question, and just mentally say yes if this hits home for you. Do you read perfectly and understand the language completely, but the very second you actually try to speak, the words just will not come out? If you're sitting there saying yes, then you need to hear this right now. Grammar books are absolutely not your solution. Look, schools love to tell us to grab a dictionary and memorize verb tenses to speak better, but as we just saw with our two students, that is actually a terrible approach if your goal is spoken fluency.
So you're probably wondering, how did Student 2 actually pull it off? Well, he followed a 21-day curriculum. Here is our agenda for today, breaking this all down into 4 totally logical phases. We've got 1, the 2 students, 2, consume, which is listen and read, 3, practice, where we observe and describe, 4, clarity, using a pen and mirror, and finally, the ultimate key, which is confidence. All right, let's kick things off with phase 1, consume, listen and read.
So, the very first step to real fluency is changing exactly how input enters your brain. I want you to think about how you naturally picked up your mother tongue when you were a kid. You didn't study it, right? You just absorbed it because you were constantly surrounded by it. You definitely don't need to sit in some completely quiet room listening to incredibly boring audio tapes. Honestly, just do what you already enjoy, but flip the language. Switch your favorite movies to English and turn on the subtitles. If you're a huge sports fan, swap out your regional commentary for English cricket commentary. If you watch the news every morning, just tune into an English news channel instead. By passively listening to your everyday entertainment, you actually activate your brain. It stops trying to awkwardly translate words like some complicated math problem, and it just starts intuitively processing the natural rhythm and flow of the language.
And hey, once you've got the listening down, we really need to change how you read. Now, I know reading silently is super comfortable, but it uses absolutely minimal brain processing when it comes to language output. If you want to learn to speak, you literally must read loudly. We call this the 3 senses rule. Grab an English textbook or a novel, lock your bedroom door, and just read it out loud. And yes, you are going to stutter at first. You will absolutely stumble over difficult words, and you know what? That is perfectly fine. Reading out loud forces you to engage multiple senses all at once. Your eyes see the words, your mouth physically speaks them, and your ears hear you speaking them. This effectively forces your brain to feed on the language so much faster than if you were just reading silently in your head.
Moving right along, let's look at phase 2, practice, observe and describe.
Okay, now that your brain is soaking up all this English, we have to train your mouth to actually generate it. The absolute biggest mistake people make right here is feeling this intense pressure to suddenly speak in massive, perfectly complex paragraphs right from the jump. We are going to abandon that idea completely. Instead, we're starting super small with the 10-minute room exercise. Wherever you happen to be sitting right now, just take a look around your room.
I want you to literally start naming objects out loud using the most basic, simple sentences, like, I can see a desktop, I can see a pen, there is a smartboard. Seriously, just do this for 10 minutes a day. Identify the things right in front of you in basic English. By doing this, you're building an incredibly powerful daily habit where you instantly associate everyday visuals directly with English words, completely bypassing your native language.
Now let's take that a step further with the nighttime routine. When you get into bed tonight, take just 10 minutes right before you fall asleep to recount your entire day in English. Keep it super sequential and simple. I woke up at 6 a.m., I went to school, I had my lunch. You are probably going to speak pretty broken, tutti-frutti English in your head while you do this, but guess what? That is exactly what we want. This nightly exercise beautifully bridges that massive gap between your internal, racing thoughts and your external speech. I promise you doing this for 21 days will drastically reduce that awful feeling of freezing up when you try to form a real sentence.
Next up is Phase 3, Clarity, Mechanics, and Delivery.
So even if you can string sentences together in your head, you might still really struggle to deliver them clearly. Why? Because your facial muscles are completely habituated to the physical mechanics of your regional language. They simply aren't used to making the physical shapes required for clear, crisp English. To fix this, we're going to use an awesome kinetic exercise that professional actors actually use to train their vocal clarity. Here's what you do. Take a pen or a pencil and bite it firmly, horizontally, right between your teeth.
Got it? Now, while keeping that pen firmly locked between your teeth, I want you to literally try saying these 5 vowels out loud right now. A, E, I, O, U. It feels incredibly awkward, doesn't it? Your tongue is basically being forced to work overtime to articulate those sounds around a physical obstacle. But doing this really simple mechanical trick every single day actively trains and habituates your tongue muscles. And the payoff? Much, much clearer enunciation when you go back to speaking normally.
But we have to remember, clarity isn't just about sound, it is also about visual delivery. Just imagine someone saying, "Hi, my name is," with this totally flat, robotic delivery and absolutely zero body movement. Kinda weird, right? Now imagine the exact same words, but delivered with active hand gestures and a really warm facial expression. The English used is identical, but the impact? Completely different. This is exactly why you must practice in front of a mirror. Stand there, speak your English, and critically analyze your hands and your face. An expressive introduction instantly builds your presence and makes you appear incredibly fluent, even if your actual vocabulary is still super basic.
To really track all of this practice and clarity work, I highly recommend this super practical exercise, the 21-day YouTube challenge. Here's the deal. Create a private YouTube channel. On day 1, record just a simple 1-minute video of yourself speaking English and upload it, but mark it as unlisted. Do this every single day. By day 10, you are absolutely going to observe your developing fluency. And by day 21, when you sit down and compare that final video to day 1, you will witness a massive, totally objective transformation. It is just incredibly rewarding to literally watch yourself improve right before your eyes. Which brings us to our final phase, Phase 4, the ultimate key, confidence.
Look, what truly separates successful speakers from the rest isn't just practice, it is 100% mindset. Let me tell you about this shoe salesman. This guy was an absolute master at his job. He could talk to literally anyone and convince them to buy a pair of shoes. He was incredibly charming, but he only spoke in his regional language. Well, one day he was challenged to learn English in just 15 days. Fast forward 2 weeks, and people were absolutely shocked. He was out there communicating with customers in English better than 90% of the people around him. Did he magically memorize a bunch of grammar rules? Absolutely not. His grammar was completely broken. He probably didn't know a pronoun from a verb. But he sold effortlessly because he took his existing confidence and a massive smile and brought it directly into this new language. People felt that confidence and they immediately perceived him as a fantastic communicator.
And that story brilliantly illustrates our final point. The fear of being judged for having broken grammar is quite literally the only thing keeping you silent. So I have to ask you, will you let the fear of broken grammar silence you forever, or will you start speaking with confidence today? You've got to ignore the fear of judgment, step out of your comfort zone, and immediately implement this 21-day challenge. The fluency you're dreaming of is literally just on the other side of that confidence. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you put these tools into action today. Let's get speaking.